Building an inventory backend meant provisioning physical servers, writing SQL migrations, and coding APIs from scratch. Today, it's a single cloud data node. By the end of this tutorial, you will deploy a live Postgres database with connected tables, populated stock data, and an auto-generated REST API. A REST API is a standardized interface that allows your front-end application to communicate with your database using HTTP requests. You only need two things to execute this build: a web browser and a free Supabase account. Because modern database architecture handles the server infrastructure for you, specialized DevOps knowledge is no longer required to build a functional stock control system. This interface is the Supabase project creation screen. Start by creating a new project named Stock Control. Select a geographic region that is physically closest to where your users are located to reduce latency. Generate a secure database password and save it immediately in a password manager. This password acts as your ultimate Postgres superuser credential, granting total administrative access to your database. Once your project provisions, open the table editor. This is a spreadsheet-like interface that allows you to design complex database schemas, the structural blueprints of your database, without writing SQL. Step 1 is creating the foundational categories table. Add an ID column using the UUID data type. A UUID, or Universally Unique Identifier, is a 128-bit label used to identify information in computer systems without significant risk of duplication. Then add a name column using the text data type. Next to categories, we create the products table, requiring 5 columns: ID, name, SKU, stock quantity as integer, and category ID as UUID. Above, Enable Row-Level Security is automatically checked. RLS is a PostgreSQL feature restricting data access row by row. Using UUIDs for your ID columns instead of standard sequential integers prevents data enumeration attacks. If a malicious user sees item number 5, they cannot simply guess that item 6 exists. Establishing these two strictly typed tables forms a rigid data foundation. It systematically ensures that only valid, well-formed data can enter your inventory system. Now we apply relational mapping. For the database to understand how your inventory is organized, the products table must be logically tethered to the categories table. This interface shows the foreign key selector. A foreign key is a column that links to the primary key of another table. Within the products table, use this modal to target the ID column of the categories table. In the settings for this link, set the onDelete referential action to set null. If a category is deleted, the product records tied to it will have their category reference cleared, rather than being deleted themselves. With the tables connected, we have to configure access. Row-level security is the primary defense mechanism for exposing a database to the web. Because RLS is enabled with no policies, querying your API returns 0 rows. The database is simply blocking unauthenticated requests. To fix this, create a policy granting the authenticated role permission to perform select and update operations on the products table. Foreign keys ensure your relationships are valid, while RLS policies ensure those relationships are only accessible to authorized users. Together, they transition a simple database into a production-ready backend. Let's populate the schema with actual stock data. Open the table editor and manually insert baseline rows, such as electronics and apparel, directly into the categories table. For larger datasets, the CSV import tool is the most efficient method for bulk uploading stock data into the products table. This split screen shows a local CSV spreadsheet on the left and the Supabase import tool on the right. Upload your file and map the columns from your spreadsheet to the database columns established earlier. Using integrated bulk import tools removes the friction of heavy data entry, bridging the gap between legacy spreadsheet workflows and modern relational databases. Check your table editor. It is fully populated, and every product is now securely and relationally linked to a specific category. Here is the result of that work. Because you built this structure in Supabase, the platform has already automatically generated a complete RESTful API derived entirely from your schema. This mockup shows the auto-generated API documentation screen. Navigate to the API section within your project settings to see custom endpoints specifically tailored to your new products and categories tables. These specific REST endpoints are fully operational. You can plug them directly into any front-end framework, like a Next.js dashboard or an iOS mobile app, to fetch and update stock levels. By offloading infrastructure maintenance, schema management, and API generation to a unified platform, you can focus exclusively on building the user experience.